This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. China has now passed Japan as the top vehicle exporter to Australia. According to Australia's Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries, Chinese automakers exported 22,300 vehicles to the country in February, compared to 21,600 for Japanese automakers. And that's the first time since 1998 that Japan hasn't held the top spot. There are now more than a dozen Chinese automakers selling vehicles in Australia, and analysts predict that they could control 40% of the new car market by 2030 if their growth continues at its current pace. And this sort of thing is happening all across Southeast Asia, a region where the Japanese have dominated for decades. And as a result, we think Japanese automakers will lose several million units of sales in the region before the decade is over. And Japanese automakers aren't just being threatened overseas. They're going to see more competition in their home market as well. Tesla is planning a big expansion in the country. It will increase its number of stores to at least 60, up from 35. And it plans to boost its number of service centers to 30, more than double what it currently has. Tesla says it's aiming to become the top importer to Japan as early as next year. Last year, it sold 10,000 vehicles in the country, but it still has a ways to go to catch up to Mercedes, who was the top importer last year with 51,000 vehicles. Uber is helping its drivers make the switch to electric now that the $7,500 federal EV tax credit is gone, and along with rising gas prices. Uber is expanding a program that allows drivers to apply for a $4,000 grant to switch to an EV. It was initially available in New York City, California, Massachusetts, and Colorado, but now it's open to any eligible platinum or diamond driver in the U.S. They just have to apply on Uber's website. In addition to the grant, Uber has partnered with Kia to give its drivers a $1,000 discount for switching to a Niro EV or an EV6, and a $1,500 discount for an EV9. Uber drivers can also get a $1,000 discount if they buy a new or used EV through online retailer TrueCar. Stellantis is in talks with its Chinese partner Leapmotor to build vehicles at its idled Brampton plant in Canada. But that's receiving pushback from Canadian union Unifor over concerns that the plant will be used to assemble, quote, knockdown kit cars. That means all the parts and systems for the vehicle will be made in China, then shipped to Canada for final assembly. The union is against that because most of the manufacturing operations and jobs will stay in China. The head of the Canadian Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association warns allowing this will, quote, kill Canadian industry.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
Most countries and automakers are trying to untangle themselves from China's stranglehold on rare earth minerals, which are used in EV batteries and electric motors. And the rest of the world may find itself in a similar situation with humanoid robots. While most major automakers are testing or have plans to test humanoids in their plants, China dominates the supply chain of parts needed to make those robots, including specialized motors, gears, and sensors. Chinese companies are said to currently control 90% of the humanoid market. Even Tesla's Optimus will use several Chinese components. Some of those components are considered best in the world, but like many things from China, this is also about price. China can produce the parts much cheaper. That has resulted in some durability issues, but companies are already working to improve operation life. And with everything they need right at home, Chinese humanoid makers were able to get to market faster and are expected to continue to dominate sales through the end of the decade. And here's an example of the kind of growth these companies are seeing. UBTech, which supplies humanoids to NIO, BYD, FAW-VW, Dongfeng, and Geely, saw revenue from selling its robots and tech go from just over $5 million in 2024 to nearly $120 million last year. And since the company sold just under 1,100 robots last year, that means each one cost as much as $110,500. Overall, UBTech actually posted a net loss of about $115 million, but that's 32% better than the year before, and it now has the production capacity to make 6,000 units a year, so it expects a lot more demand for its robots. While some automakers are shying away from Yoke steering wheels, Mercedes is embracing them for the new EQS sedan. And not only that, the car will debut steer-by-wire technology, where there's no physical connection between the steering wheel and the wheels. Add in the option for rear-wheel steering, and for every one full revolution that a normal steering wheel would do in low-speed maneuvers, the Mercedes Yoke wheel rotates less than half a turn. Yesterday was the one-year anniversary of President Trump's Liberation Day, when he imposed all kinds of tariffs on imported goods. So, what's been the impact on the auto industry? Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. The total value of imported cars, trucks, and parts fell more than 15%, but exports also fell to their lowest in 5 years. That left the U.S. with an automotive trade deficit of about $273 billion. Even so, that was about 18% lower than the year before, according to data from the U.S. Census and Bureau of Economic Analysis. So the tariffs definitely reduced the automotive trade deficit, but they also cost automakers and suppliers $35 billion in higher cost and lower profits. For the overall economy, the trade deficit in goods hit an all-time record of $1.1 trillion, but the trade surplus in services also hit a record of nearly $340 billion. So overall, the total trade deficit came in at $901 billion, about $2 billion less than the year before. Ford reported its Q1 sales yesterday for the U.S. market, and they dropped 8.8% to 457,000 vehicles. Ford was hurt by phasing out the Escape and Edge and from a 16% drop in F-Series sales, which still hasn't caught up to the production it lost from a fire at a Novelis aluminum plant. But here's what we're really watching. Last year, the Hyundai Group, including Kia and Genesis, were 55,000 sales behind Ford in the first quarter. This year, they were only 27,000 units behind. So now the race is on. Can the South Korean automaker surpass Ford in sales in the American market by the end of the year? With gas prices soaring, Ford says it has solutions to help fleet operators save at the pump. According to its own data, 29% of work vehicles in North America idle excessively, compared to just 10% in Europe. But the automaker says its Ford Pro telematics software can help prevent wasted fuel by showing which vehicles are idling and for how long. Ford says fleets using its coaching feature reduced idling by 52%. Another feature helps reduce speeding and harsh driving, which can also improve fuel economy. This coaching led to 25% less speeding, 16% less hard braking, and 11% less hard acceleration. And lastly, the software can monitor the vehicle's health, so it can be properly maintained, which can lead to less fuel waste. That's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. CSP, the composites solution partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
Making a life full of memories, one road trip at a time. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Weather Peak tires with a 70,000-mile limited warranty.
At Intrepid, we produce network hardware and software solutions, enabling vehicle manufacturers to innovate and design the next generation of modern mobility. Delivering scalable next-generation solutions requires thorough testing and validation of vehicle platforms. Intrepid specializes in network interfacing, data logging, simulation, and gateway capabilities. Intrepid's NeoVi cloud platform provides real-time data collection, instant cloud upload, intelligent detection, advanced issue analysis, root cause identification, and remote update deployment. All of these steps ensure vehicles are cleared for production and ready for the road, taking your fleet testing into the future of mobility. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now, check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.